In this lesson, we're going to be reviewing what we know about fractions and a few things. First, we know the parts of a fraction. We know that a fraction has a numerator and a denominator. Your numerator being the top number of the fraction, in this example 5, and the denominator being the bottom number in the fraction, in this example 6. We also know that a rational number is a number that can be written as a ratio of two integers. So all fractions are rational numbers. Any number that can be written as a fraction is a rational number. One thing that we can do with fraction is that we can simplify those fractions into simplest form. A fraction in simplest form is a fraction that can't be simplified any further. And when we work with fractions, we want to make sure that our fractions are simplified completely when giving a final answer. So let's take a look at reviewing simplifying fractions in simplest form. To simplify a fraction all the way down, you want to think about the biggest number that would divide evenly into both your numerator and denominator. By determining this largest number, it will simplify your fraction down all the way. Taking a look at number 1, we know that 2 will divide evenly into both 4 and 30. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. There are no other numbers other than 1 that would divide evenly into 2 and 15. So 2/15 is simplified, the most simplified version of the fraction. Even if we have a negative, we can do the same thing. So on number 2, negative 2/14. The biggest number that would divide evenly into 2 and 14 would be 2. Because our original fraction is negative, our final answer will also be negative. And 2 divides into 2 one time, and 14 divided by 2 is 7, which gives us a simplified negative 1/7. Number 3. Again, we want to think about the biggest number that would divide evenly into both 15 and 40. We know that 5 will divide evenly into both of these numbers. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 40 divided by 5 is 8. The biggest number that would divide into both 3 and 8 is 1. So 3/8 is the simplified version. Go ahead and highlight 4 through 9. The next thing we want to discuss are improper fractions and mixed numbers. Remember, an improper fraction is a fraction in which the numerator is larger than the denominator. And we talk about improper fractions and mixed numbers together because an improper fraction can be written as a mixed number and vice versa. A mixed number can be written as an improper fraction. A mixed number is a number paired with a proper fraction. So a whole number, like 1, 2, 5, 9, 14, paired with a proper fraction. So remember, a proper fraction is not going to be an improper fraction. A proper fraction, your numerator is smaller than your denominator. So let's take a look at how we can go back and forth changing an improper fraction to a mixed number and changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. So first, an improper fraction of 16 over 4. It's improper because our numerator is larger than our denominator. To change this to a whole number, to change it to a mixed number, we simply divide. And in this case, it would divide evenly into a whole number. 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So 16/4 is equivalent to 4. We would do the same thing for number 11, but there's two differences on number 11. One of the differences is that this fraction is negative. The other difference is that 16 does not divide into 28 evenly like number 10 did. Because this fraction is negative, we want to make sure that our final answer is also negative. So we're going to keep that negative sign. 28 divided by 16. 28 will go into 16 one time, so that's our whole number, with 12 left over. So 12 over 16. But we want it to be in our most simplified form. And 12 over 16 can be simplified because 4 will divide evenly into both of those. Now that doesn't affect the negative, and it doesn't affect the whole number of 1. But 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So our final answer is negative 1 3/4. Let's take a look at one more, changing an improper fraction to a mixed number. Number 12, 18 over 5. We know that 5 will not divide evenly into 18, so we will have a mixed number. 5 does go into 18 3 times, because 3 times 5 is 15, with 3 left over. That is our numerator, and our denominator of 5 will stay the same. 18/5 as a mixed number is 3 3/5. Always make sure you check that proper fraction to see if it can be simplified. Go ahead and highlight 13, 14, and 15. Now let's take a look at changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. So remember, to change a mixed number to an improper fraction, we multiply the numerator times the whole number and add the numerator. We multiply, the denominator times the whole number and add our numerator. So if we're looking at number 16, we're going to multiply our denominator of 9 times our whole number of 2. 9 times 2 is 18, and 18 plus 2 equals 20 over 9. Our denominator stays the same. So 2 2/9 is equivalent to 20 over 9. We're going to do the same thing for number 17. We're going to multiply our denominator times our whole number. So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And then negative 15 plus 1 is negative 14. And our denominator stays the same, 3. So negative 5 1/3 is equivalent to negative 14 over 3. Let's look at one more. Again, our denominator of 7 times our whole number of 3. 7 times 3 is 21. Then 21 plus 3 is 24 over 7. That denominator stays the same. So 3 3/7 is equivalent to 24 over 7. Go ahead and highlight number 19, 20, and 21. In the next section, we're going to review adding and subtracting fractions with like bases. So remember, when we add and subtract our base, our denominator, it's important that we pay attention to what it is. And we're just going to focus on our denominators that are the same. First, what you want to do in step 1 is to write all mixed numbers as improper fractions. Then, you are going to either add or subtract the numerators, but you keep the denominator the same. And finally, as always, make sure you simplify if needed. It's not always necessary to simplify, but it is always necessary to check to see if it can be simplified. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Number 22. We're going to be adding 1/12 plus 5/12. Our denominators are the same. They're both 12. So we can simply add our numerators. 1 plus 5 is 6. And our denominator of 12 stays the same. Then we need to simplify it if needed. 6 over 12 does simplify because 6 will divide evenly into both our numerator and denominator. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So 1/12 plus 5/12 equals 1/2. Number 23, again, we have the denominators are both 15, and we are subtracting in this problem. So because our denominators are the same, we can simply subtract our numerators. 11 minus 4 is 7. And our denominator of 15 stays the same. 7/15 does not simplify, so we leave it as the proper fraction. Let's take a look at number 24. Number 24, again, our denominators are the same, so we can simply add our numerators. 5 plus 2 is 7. And then our denominator of 3 stays the same. Now, depending on the situation and the problem you're working with, leaving your answer as 7/3 is perfectly fine. And as you move higher into different math programs, this is the way you're going to want to leave your answer. But also, depending on the problem, you may want to change that to a mixed number. So 7/3 as a mixed number, 3 goes into 7 2 times, that's our whole number, with 1 left over, that's our numerator. And our denominator of 3 stays the same. So 7/3 or 2 1/3 are your correct answer. Let's take a look at number 25. So number 25, we do have our denominators that are the same. However, you'll notice that one of our numbers is a mixed number, and that mixed number is negative. So remember, our first step is to change all mixed numbers to improper fractions. So we want to change -1 5/8 to an improper fraction. And we're going to do that by multiplying our denominator by our whole number. 8 times -1 is -8. And then -8 times plus our numerator, -8 plus 5, is -3/8. I'm sorry. Let me back up just a minute. So let's start over. So you want to multiply your 8 times your whole number. We're going to multiply it just times the 1. And 8 times 1 is 8. And then 8 plus 5 is 13. And your denominator of 8 stays the same. Then, because that fraction is negative, you're going to add that negative to it. So a -13/8. So when you're changing it from a mixed number to an improper fraction, you want to multiply your denominator times your whole number, then add it to your numerator. And then if that mixed number is negative, you're going to add that negative sign to it. And then plus 4/8. So that second fraction is just going to stay the same because it's already a proper fraction. Now, our denominators are the same, so we can add across the top. Negative 13 plus 4. So we're adding with a negative. So we want to remember our rules for adding with a negative. So we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So negative 13 plus 4 equals negative 9. And then again, our denominator stays the same. So our final answer is negative 9/8, or remember, we can change that to a mixed number. 8 will go into 9 one time with 1 left over, and our denominator stays the same, and it's still negative. So we want to make sure that we remember that negative sign. We don't want to forget it. So either one of these would be your correct answer. Make sure that you're reading directions and you're reading the problem to know which form to write your answer in. Go ahead and highlight number 26 and highlight number 27. And let's look at how we can apply adding and subtracting with these rational numbers. Amaya is making bracelets. She has a piece of string that is 12 1/4 inches long. She cuts off a piece that is 8 3/4 inches. How much string does she have left? Well, she began with 12 1/4 inches. And she cuts off a piece. So if we're cutting off a piece, we're taking away a piece. So we're going to subtract. And she cuts off a piece that is 8 3/4. So we're going to be subtracting 12 1/4 minus 8 3/4. Both of these are mixed numbers that need to be turned into improper fractions. To turn 12 1/4 into an improper fraction, we're going to multiply 4 times 12 and add 1. And that gives us a numerator of 49. And our denominator of 4 will stay the same. Minus, we also need to change 8 3/4 into an improper fraction. And to do that, we're going to multiply our denominator of 4 times 8 plus 3, which would give us 35 over 4. Our denominators are the same, so I can simply subtract my numerators. 49 minus 35 is 14 over 4. Remember, our denominator stays the same. And we want to simplify if we can, and we can. 2 will divide evenly into both 14 and 4. So simplified, it is 7 over 2. Or, for this problem, we would want our answer to be written as a mixed number because the numbers in the problem are written as mixed numbers. So 2 will divide into 7 3 times with 1 left over, and our denominator of 2 stays the same. So we want our final answer to be 3.5 inches. Go ahead and highlight number 29 and number 30. I want to read those two with you and talk about how you would solve those. Marcus is skiing. He is 860 1/10 feet up the mountain. He descends to 450 7/10 feet. What is his change in elevation? So he's starting up high and then he descends. So he's going down. So that means you're going to want to subtract. And in order to subtract these two numbers, you want to change both of them into improper fractions. Number 30, Bill has 23 4/5 gallons of water in his aquarium. He adds 18 3/5 more gallons. How much water is in his aquarium? So he starts with a certain amount and adds more. So this would be an addition problem. So you're going to add 23 4/5 plus 18 3/5. And again, both of these are mixed numbers, so you'll want to change them to improper fractions in order to add them.